Greetings, my name is Kushagra Singh, student of BCom LLB, third year, and this is my case analysis video assignment for CPC. So, my case is GN Nayak versus Goa University 2002. The Supreme Court of India deciding bench for this case was Justice S. Rajendra Babu and Justice Ruma Pal. So, beginning with the introduction, this presentation examines how court deal with dispute in academic appointment. The case of GN Nayak and Goa University shows how a simple faculty recruitment turned into a constitutional challenge involving allegation of bias, qualification, and procedural irregularities. Think of it like choosing a captain for sport team. If player suspect the coach favors someone unfairly for becoming him captain, it disrupts the entire process. The question before the Supreme Court was in this case is, did the university act like an impartial coach like it is in the example, or was it a procedural flaw? So let's see. So, case academic anatomy versus judicial intervention. This case set a clear boundary between academic anatomy and judicial intervention in the university selection procedure. It addressed questions on bias, qualification, interpretation, and procedural irregularities in academic appointment. So, by seeing the background of this case, the story begins with a vacancy for professor of marine science that remained unfilled for years. Several advertisements were made, but no suitable candidate was found. In the year 1994 and 1995, the university again invited application. Both the appellant Dr. Nayak and other teacher respondent number 5 were readers in the department and applied. Think of it. So by thinking of it like an example and understanding the facts better, think of this as a job post that keep getting reposted because nobody meets the strict criteria. Eventually, the university relaxes some condition to attract more candidates. So this is the more suitable example to understand the fact, as the position for the professor remained unfilled for years. So for that the university had to relax some criteria. So background of this case was in 1999, like I've explained, the post of professor of marine science at Goa University became vacant. Advertisement issued in 1994. The advertisement issued with specific minimum qualification. Both Dr. Nayak and respondent number 5 applied. University alters additional qualification, broadening criteria. And 1996, fresh selection committee recommend Dr. Nayak. So respondent number 5 challenges the selection. So the fact that lead to the litigation for this case was, before the year 1995 interview, the head of department wrote a note praising Dr. Nayak and urging vice chancellor to conduct the interview quickly so that Dr. Nayak wouldn't have to leave for another university. Respondent number 5 interpreted this as a sign of bias. He objected but still sat for the interview. In the year 1994 selection, both candidates were rejected, but in the year 1996, under revised criteria, Dr. Nayak was selected. Uh, so, so yeah. So now High Court decision appoint appointment set aside. First, there was illegal amendment. High Court decide this illegal amendments, eligibility criteria amended without statutory body approval, improper committee selection committee improperly constituted, violation of statute 15, lack of records, no record of candidate evaluation or grading maintained, alleged bias, process violated by bias inferred from HOD, note praising Dr. Nayak. An unqualified candidate. Appellant lacked essential qualification, 10-year experience. So High Court finding the findings of High Court were initially the High Court took a strict view and set aside the appointment. Okay, it held the eligibility criteria was altered, which was illegal, uh, according to the High Court. The selection committee wasn't properly formed, which violate the statute 15. No evaluation record were kept. The HOT praises the Dr. Nayak, which created some sort of bias, and Dr. Nayak lacked 10 years experience, the required experience, which was initially there. Essentially, the High Court said the entire process is contaminated from the start to finish. This is like a rejecting a selection because rules was changed mid game without informing everyone. So yeah, the High Court main concern and made finding in this case was the process was contaminated and was sort of unfair due to illegal amendments, improper committee, and bias that was created. So that was the High Court initial finding. Now the issue went before the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, there were five things that were listed on the Supreme Court. First, there was maintainability. Was the second writ petition maintainable? Second, eligibility. Whether the eligibility criteria improperly amended. Qualification. Did Dr. Nayak satisfy the prescribed qualification? Committee constitution. Was a selection committee validly constituted? And bias. Did the bias affect the selection process? So the Supreme Court examined five major questions, which I already asked. Was the second writ petition allowed? Whether the change in eligibility criteria legal? Was the candidate actually qualified? Was the committee properly formed? And most importantly, did the bias exist? So this case is a perfect example of how judicial review work. Whether courts step in or stay back when university make decision. So SC analysis on maintainability and estoppel. So, maintainability. The Supreme Court held the writ maintainable as the first writ concerned the 1994 advertisement and second challenged the 1995 selection and altered criteria stemming from different cause of action. So, the cause of action was different. So, the second writ is maintainable and estoppel by participant. The respondent number 5 knew the criteria changed but applied and participated without objection. He was thus stopped from challenging the eligibility criteria later. So, the Supreme Court basically said the second writ was maintainable because it challenged different advertisement and different selection. So the cause of action was different. And it was also held the respondent number 5 by applying and sitting in an interview under change criteria could not later complain. So this was held for maintainability and eligibility. SC analysis on Dr. Nayak qualification. First, pre-doctoral research. The research for doctoral degree may be counted toward experience. Following Dr. Kumar Bardas versus Utkal University case. University practice. The university constantly treated pre-doctoral research as valid experience for both candidates. And appellant qualification. Dr. Nayak met 10-year teaching research experience requirement. So the SC's on the qualification was the key dispute was whether the doctoral research could could count towards the 10-year experience requirement. The Supreme Court in this said yes because the university had always considered such research as valid experience. Even the objecting candidate had benefited from this interpretation earlier. This is like counting internship experience when applying for job as long as the organization constantly does so for everyone. So yes, so SC validates and find the Dr. Nayak has the valid qualification for the job. So and now SC analysis on selection committee and bias. So the High Court through the quorum was incomplete because one expert was recorded as absent. The Supreme Court accepted the registrar's sworn statement that was typographical error. The expert had attended and signed the report. So the Supreme Court on the committee constitution, the registrar's affidavit clarified the expert attended and the absence of typographical error. The court accepts this finding and no violation of statute 15. Alleged bias. Bias implies personal interest, not professional opinion. HOD praising colleagues' work is not a legal bias. No evidence of improper motives or personal interest was found. SC analysis on lack of grading record. So the court held that no specific ordinance required detailed grading or marking. Selection for senior academic post or may rely on overall assessment rather than numerical scoring. The decision was unanimous and no malafide were shown. Now, the final judgment and significance. The Supreme Court restored Dr. Nayak appointment. It held that the court must not micromanage academic decision unless there is clear evidence of illegality or malafide. The judicial reinforced three principles. First, academic anatomy must be protected. Second, bias must be actual, not speculative. And substance is more important than technical flaws. Act like a wall. They intervene only when there's a clear fall, not a every minor disagreement. So court let the university decide what the selection criteria could be, and it will only intervene when there is actual bias or actual illegality committed, not every little dispute. The five principles here said the judgment set aside. Supreme Court set aside the High Court judgment restoring Dr. Naik appointment. The court clarified that the pre-doctoral research count towards academic experience. Judicial, the court must be cautious in interfering with academic bodies unless statutory violation, malafide, and manifest arbitrariness are established. Academic anatomy uphold institutional anatomy of universities in selection process. And bias definition. Bias must be real and demonstrable, not interfered from professional opinion. So by this, I end my case presentation on the topic, and thank you.